So what's up guys, your man NBA fan Crazy Hero here back on the channel with another video. And guys, so if you see this video, you can make sure check my previous video on the best plays on the 2020 NBA playoffs. So saying that, let's get to this video and make sure you subscribe to my podcast right on Anchor. So I'll be posting the link in the description. Make sure to check it out. And so let's get on to this video. So when everything was said and done in free agency, there was this guy. His name was Kawhi Leonard. In the middle, in June, after a few days after free agency started, if I'm right, he announced his free agency decision on July 5th, 2019. He chose the LA Clippers. The Clippers were coming off after a remarkable, how do you say? It's like an attractive, from an attraction standpoint, from a standpoint where it looked like teams want to come to your team. They took the Warriors to 6. That was one thing going for them, and you can say pause. And the Clippers, they also had a thing called dogs, a group of people willing to play to their potential and willing to cover up for each other, brought into the word team. And the word team will be very important later in the story. So now that they got this guy named Kawhi Leonard and this guy named Paul George. For Paul George, they traded for this guy for like Vert Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, a promising 6'5" point guard out of Kentucky with the 13th pick, traded with the Charlotte Hornets. And Danilo Gallinari, though he's somewhat, you can say, a defensive liability, still productive. He was injury free. He had a 19 point per game productive year. So you traded him and 5 picks, 4 protected, 1 unprotected, plus pick swaps down the line. And many, including me, I will admit I had the Clippers winning. But it's not because I hated the Lakers. I went back and forth, but I decided to roll with the Clippers. And I wound up paying for that. I'm not mad at them. I'm just mad at myself. And you can see how many comments I've flamed the Clippers with. Because though I thought they would pull it out, I didn't necessarily like their attitude. And attitude will be an important word down the line. The Clippers had I don't remember what their record is, and I don't want to remember. So they had a okay year. Kawhi Leonard missing some games. Paul George missed games at the start of the year. His first game was against the Pelicans. So going into the playoffs, and the bubble was an important thing because some guys made excuses for LeBron's easy title run because he didn't face the Clippers, and they were gonna lock him down and they're gonna make him work on the defensive end, and I'm gonna give him buckets on the offensive end. This truly applies for Kawhi Leonard. I didn't say they were the better duo. I just thought the team would be better. Turns out I was wrong, and I will accept it. And now, rightfully so, I've appreciated the Lakers, who they truly are. A versatile, deep roster, who we thought the Clippers were. Versatile, deep, and the word deep won't associate. A complementary pieces who thrive off of LeBron and AD. So the Staples Center Battle of LA thing was supposed to be hashtag Battle of LA. Turns out it was never meant to be. The Clippers defeated the Mavericks, and Marcus Morris, I hated him a lot after the Dallas series for what he did to Luka. And you might call that a tough guy thing, but that isn't toughness when you step on a guy's shoes and hit him on the head on the way down when he goes for a layup. That isn't necessarily in Montrezl Harrell. I mean, I wanted this guy to be suspended. Like, I'm not supposed to mention this because I don't want to. Maybe I'm not of the sorts that I have to mention it because I don't want to mention it. I don't want. I'm strictly opposed to this. But he did swear a lot, and it got into, and it really offended me to the point where I advocated why not suspend him. Though it may not mean as much if you apply it to the vice versa, it's still offendable, though not in the same historical reference. Okay, the Clippers beat the Mavericks. And in round two, everyone pretty much wrote the Nuggets off. The Clippers went up 3-1 and they were predicted to go to their first conference finals. But that wasn't meant to be. This is what happened. A short storyline cut, a big story cut short. Marcus Morris got into it with Paul Millsap. They went at each other. I didn't see the fight live, so I don't remember it, but I knew they went into it with each other, and that fueled the Nuggets. The Nuggets won Game 5 behind a fourth quarter comeback. A fourth quarter comeback fueled by their two stars Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray with the side contributions of Michael Porter Jr. Okay, game 6. You can still win this. Well, they raced out and they just let it go by. A second half comeback. Game 7. This was the ultimate pressure game. If they lose, they're scrutinized, they're done. Well, some people still thought the Clippers were gonna win because they thought the switch is gonna flip. If they wanted they wanted to win. Unfortunately, these guys will not get it. The Nuggets, they aren't who we thought they are. I had respect for them. I thought it was gonna be Clippers in 6. I thought the Nuggets would get 2. I was wrong. I I thoroughly accept it. I I was wrong. I will accept it. I am gonna make none of it. I ain't gonna make excuses for these Clippers. So the Nuggets, who I didn't call them comeback kids, they they had a lot of mental toughness. But wait, I said the word comeback. Oh, can I tell you what comeback lead they came back from? 17 in the fifth game 5, 19 in game 6, and 12 in game 7. So let me get this straight. I didn't tell this. In game 7, the Clippers were up by 12, almost near the end. They let it go down to 2. The Nuggets regained the lead, and then it all went downhill, and they became the the meme that we know as the flippers or the chokers or the losers, removing the remaining letters. Okay. So the thing is, I'll analyze what went wrong with the Clippers. So one thing, the 4 things they have to improve upon. Or whatever. Just listen to my takeaways. One thing is playmaking. Well, the playmaking aspect was a little bit, it was known. I actually, though I didn't say it out loud, I said it to one of my friends who I like to talk basketball with. I told him he was a fan of the Clippers. I told him the playmaking aspect. No one on the Clippers is an organic playmaker and get guys into their spots. who can find guys, who can put guys at their respective spots and then find him when he's comfortable. Like putting Kawhi Leonard into a mid-range, putting Paul George cutting or in motion, putting Montrezl Harrell underneath the rim, putting Lou Williams at the foul line. Those are the areas where those guys thrive. But the thing is, Kawhi Leonard, yeah, his assist increased. That's an added growth to his game. He was called upon to do everything. Leading scorer, leading rebounder, leading assist man, leading guy in blocks and leading guy in steals. That is impressive. But for a guy with injury issues, you cannot put that load on him. Let me get this straight. You required him to score. You required him to be to defend the other guy. You required him to be the playmaker, and you treat him like he's LeBron James, who, by the way, he's one of the best superstar facilitators, even though he can play like a scorer sometimes. But the thing is, he also required to do one thing. Leadership. See, in Toronto, when they got him, they led in a leadership by style example. But the vocal voice came from Kyle Lowry, an experienced vet who could band together a locker room but hadn't come to terms with winning at the highest level. So this is where I disagree. You guys said the Clippers, I said they're going to win, but I didn't take it that far because y'all thought Kawhi was some like messiah figure, or not messiah figure, but let's just say you're extrapolating him. My takeaway was he was awesome. He brought Canada, the Raptors, their first title. Huge success. But we cannot ignore the contributions the other Raptors gave. Kyle Lowry. And though as much as people criticize Lowry for what he does, he was the vocal leader. And Kawhi led by example. Lowry was the vocal leader. He brought the locker room together. And Kawhi was he was the best player. Lowry was the leader. And with the Clippers, there was a lack of a leadership accountability role. Doc Rivers, he may be an okay coach. People have harped on him after the Clippers lost. But the thing is, he didn't hold the stars accountable either. I a little bit harped on Doc Rivers and some guys too. Some guys commenting in YouTube and some players too. He has a preferential treatment towards stars. Who doesn't? Yeah, that's a valid question. But when the locker room is falling apart when you're in, and by the way, Doc, you said rah-rah speeches are overrated. Well, you could have used those rah-rah speeches y'all were captioning as overrated. Y'all could have used a boost, like put your mentality into this. Like that was something wrong with those Clippers. I just thought they were able to overcome it. They weren't. So props to the Nuggets. They really, though it wasn't the Clippers, it required the Nuggets mental mind and being mentally tough. Played loose, calm, and collected. But this video is about the Clippers, so I have to talk about the Clippers. Playmaking is necessary. Patrick Beverley is one of the better defensive point guards. But he isn't necessarily a playmaker, but he gets guys into their comfort zones so he can play to the team's strengths. This put too much of a load on Kawhi to score, to defend, to be the leader, to also play make. And this too much to ask. And you can see my comments on the score on the channel, the scores Clippers video. I told you they required him to score, defend, lead, and play make. That's too much. So putting a guy like Ty Lue, though it may not necessarily help with him on the court, I think it helps them in the locker room wise. They have to get a playmaking point guard. I think a guy like you may not get him, but a guy like him. For example, Kyle Lowry, defense and offense and playmaking. He can do both. He can get guys into comfort zones. And I mean, a guy like him, and they have a chance to get him, they absolutely should go at him. And you may say Kyle Lowry, so, well, the Clippers window is also limited to 1 year guaranteed. So if the Raptors put him on the trade block, you have to get him. And I don't know whether they would, but you have to get him if he's on the trade block. I don't want to hear no excuses. He's the perfect guard for this team. He can get guys into spots, he can create for himself, and he can defend bigger guys too, to a level. So my takeaways, and they also needed a rim protector, a guy with size who could move around. Montrezl Harrell, I never thought he was a good defender, and this series proved me right. He was exposed. His stock went way down. He's gonna leave next year. I think he's gonna sign with the Hornets, and I hope the Hornets don't give him a fat booty contract. They have to sign him to the right amount. This playoffs exposed Montrezl Harrell. Lou Williams, you Mr. Lemon Pepper Lou, you went to Magic City for what? And rest in peace. And I'm sorry for your. I think if I'm right, it was his grandfather. So mentally, he was in a different place. But then to expose and put the team in jeopardy by who are you partying with? I forgot. Was it? I don't remember. So he took wings. Not necessarily the time to do so. Montrezl, we felt like he wasn't himself in the bubble, but we cannot take that into account. That was no excuse for his play. And when the Montrezl and Lou pick and roll isn't working, you have to take him out. They're defensive liabilities. Was I the only one who saw JaMychal Green was the better replacement? He may not have done more, but he could have been better than Montrezl. What about you could have tried Zubats too? My thing is you gotta get a mobile big man who has the height of Jokic, who can protect the rim. Because even if they made it out, I think the Lakers would have slaughtered them by the way I saw the Clippers play. So my three major and one more last takeaway I have is the chemistry. The Clippers, they were oft injured. They had to sit down, guys. They played a lot of different lineups over the season. This hurt them in the bubble. When all the playoff pressure didn't affect anyone, it required mental focus and togetherness, especially in times like these. And the Clippers weren't together. And I said to my same friend who I told you was a Clippers fan, he's been watching this team for a while, and he liked them. He wanted them to beat the Lakers. I told him why you had to be concerned. Chemistry. There was no chemistry. That team did not sync up together. Too many how would I say, disconnect. Too much. You had to be on the same page in a place like the bubble. They weren't, and this made a clear difference in why they lost. And they weren't together. They weren't on the same page. Next year, at least now, At least, even though I don't have them winning, the Clippers absolutely have to win it, or else you're probably gonna lose Paul George, you're gonna lose Kawhi Leonard, and the next draft pick, ladies and gentlemen, I remind you, is in 2027. You know when 2027 is? You know the draft pick must be in 7th or 8th grade right now. 7th or 8th grade, you gotta be serious. Well, when Lawrence Frank took home the Executive of the Year, Montrezl Harrell took out the 6th man. That's all I gotta tell you. And by the way, did I tell you the Warriors are coming back next season?